Battlefield first, Ukraine performs all-robot multi-domain attack near Kharkiv. The killer robots have arrived, supported by numerous defense tech partners from NATO nations like Estonia. Ukraine has just pulled off a Battlefield first near Kharkiv in December, an air and ground attack using all automated systems. Now, I had expected this to be front page news, but it appears that Trump and Musk have been sucking all of the media oxygen out of the room lately. Hey friends, Wes here, and before we jump into this all-robot attack, here's a little background. Estonia's Milrem Robotics is rolling out its Themis unmanned ground vehicles, or UGVs, at a record speed, and by the end of the year, Ukraine will have over 200 of them in the fight against Russia's increasingly desperate forces. Let's face it, Russia's battlefield tactics could use a serious 21st century upgrade, and Ukraine is happy to showcase what modern warfare actually looks like. Since 2022, the Ukrainian military has been using Milrem's Themis platforms for cargo transport, medical evacuations, and mine clearance, tasks that previously involved sending human soldiers into harm's way. According to Paul Clayton, Milrem's director of industrial partnerships, at least 15 of these robotic warriors are already on the ground, proving their worth. But that's just the beginning. Smarter than your average Russian conscripts, breaking defense reports that new variants of Themis are heading to Ukraine, including anti-tank, reconnaissance, and engineering models. These aren't just glorified RC cars, they're modular, up-armored war machines capable of carrying everything from medical supplies to machine guns, and even anti-tank missiles, perfect for dismantling whatever Soviet-era scrap Russia still insists on rolling into battle. Unlike the waves of undertrained Russian conscripts being thrown into combat like cannon fodder, these machines don't need morale, don't get tired, and certainly don't surrender. In my opinion, Ukraine is quickly moving toward a future where 95% of positions are manned by autonomous machines in some form. Anecdotally, several members of Ukraine's armed forces have told me as much. If we think about the evolution of machines in war, not counting airborne strike platforms like FPV drones, the first iteration will likely be robots that lighten the burden of the grunt. But advancements in warfare, especially in Ukraine, are moving faster than most academics can keep up. Themis platforms are built for adaptability, carrying advanced surveillance systems, remote-controlled weapon stations, and heavy-duty transport capabilities. They move with precision, they follow orders without hesitation, and best of all, they don't complain about MREs. With over 200 units expected in Ukraine by the end of the year, these UGVs will form an increasingly vital part of Ukraine's battlefield strategy. While Russia is still relying on decades-old tactics that often amount to little more than human wave attacks, Ukraine is deploying intelligent, coordinated robot systems that minimize human risk while maximizing enemy destruction. Now, I've discussed this at length in the past, but there's a striking difference in warfighting ideology between Russia and Ukraine, the latter of which has adopted Western doctrine. If life has value, you innovate technological solutions on the battlefield that can attenuate human losses. In Russia, losing soldiers' lives seems to be approached with a blasé attitude akin to a shoulder shrug. According to data just published by the BBC, over 95,000 people fighting for Russia's military have now died. This number does not count fighters serving in the militia or the self-proclaimed Donbas republics, which BBC estimates to be between 21 and 23,000 additional dead soldiers. I'm digressing, but my point is that Ukraine's fight against Russia provides the clearest picture yet of how truly different our ideologies are as a society. Okay, back to Themis. Milrem Robotics has been closely monitoring how its Themis units perform under real combat conditions and using that intel to make constant improvements. Unlike Russia, which prefers to learn through trial and error and staggering casualty rates, Estonia's approach involves actual technological evolution. That's why Milrem has teamed up with next-gen robotic defense firms based on Ukraine's frontline experience. The battlefield feedback loop is key here. Ukrainian soldiers aren't just using these UGVs, they're actively shaping their evolution. Every battle-tested insight, whether about mobility under extreme conditions, integration with electronic warfare countermeasures, or modular adaptability is being funneled directly back to Milrim's engineers. This results in a smarter, tougher, and more efficient war machine tailored to Ukraine's unique combat needs. This means Ukraine is leveraging real-time data, refining its tech, and ensuring that its robotic assets continuously improve with each deployment. But to be clear here, this isn't just about replacing human soldiers with machines. It's about creating a seamless synergy between man and machine that gives Ukraine a technological edge that Russia simply can't match. Russia will run out of soldiers eventually. That's just a mathematical fact. Milrim's collaboration with Ukraine is an important step toward long-term defense innovation. Now, this partnership goes beyond the immediate war effort, laying the groundwork for a future where autonomous and semi-autonomous combat systems become a staple of Ukraine's defense doctrine. Okay, so that's enough background. What about the world's first all-robot multi-domain attack? Well, if Russia thought it was having a bad time with drones, things are about to get worse. In December, Ukraine pulled off an all-drone, multi-domain attack near Kharkiv, marking a major shift in combat strategy. But let's be careful not to bury the lead here. This part is huge. No boots were on the ground. Just weaponized UGVs and first-person view attack drones, working in tandem to obliterate enemy positions. Think of it as a battlefield beta test for the future of warfare. And guess what? It worked. According to reports from the International Armored Vehicle Conference, these uncrewed systems performed surveillance, mine clearance, and direct fire missions, completely outmaneuvering Russian forces, who still think that trench warfare is cutting edge. One official described it as a seminal moment in the changing character of conflict. The defense source noted that Ukrainian-developed 4x4 Ratel-S UGVs played a key role in the operation, swarming enemy positions and disrupting command and control nodes with relentless efficiency. This attack wasn't just a one-off stunt, it was a glimpse into the future of war. The success of Ukraine's all-drone assault is forcing military strategists worldwide to rethink traditional warfare. With FPV drones providing real-time situational awareness and UGVs executing precise ground strikes, the battlefield is evolving into an AI-assisted combat zone where human soldiers play more of a strategic role than a frontline one. And the implications go far beyond Ukraine. NATO analysts are studying the operation closely, realizing that future conflicts will likely heavily depend on autonomous and semi-autonomous systems. If a country like Ukraine, fighting with a fraction of Russia's resources, can successfully implement this model, imagine what a fully funded Western military could do with the same tactics. Paul Clayton, who just visited Ukraine in July, described how these UGVs are now being used for the first strike missions, with waves of 10 or more hitting objectives simultaneously. If Russian forces destroy one, another one will come in, he said, highlighting how Ukraine has turned industrial disadvantage into a furnace of innovation. Of course, it's not all smooth sailing. Winter's infamous General Mud is an equal opportunity problem, limiting the mobility of both wheeled and tracked UGVs. Also, Russia's electronic warfare capabilities pose challenges, forcing Ukraine to adapt quickly by constantly shifting drone operating frequencies to stay ahead of jamming efforts. The game of electronic cat and mouse continues, but Ukraine's ability to innovate on the fly is keeping its robotic forces one step ahead, for now. Another pressing issue is logistics. Advanced robotics require a steady supply of spare parts, maintenance, and specialized operators, areas where Ukraine must ensure sustainability in long-term combat scenarios. Ukraine's high-tech edge depends on keeping these robotic units running at peak efficiency. Despite these hurdles, additional orders for Milrim's Themis platforms are already in the pipeline. Future variants will include anti-tank, indirect fire, and enhanced reconnaissance capabilities, ensuring that Ukraine's robotic fleet remains a nightmare for Russia's tactically stagnant forces. Milrim's Themis UGVs represent a seismic shift in modern warfare, one that Russia seems utterly unprepared for. While the Kremlin continues to throw poorly trained conscripts into the fire, Ukraine is pioneering a smarter, more lethal approach to combat. With over 200 robotic platforms expected to be in play by the end of this year, the battlefield is evolving, and Ukraine is leading the charge. For Russia, well, this should serve as a wake-up call, but given their track record, they'll probably just keep shoveling troops into the grinder and hoping for different results. Good luck with that. That's it for today, friends. Subscribe if you're feeling froggy. Or don't. I'm not your daddy. But it would be really awesome if you did. And as always, glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.